Introducing some people is really easy. Introducing other people, it's like, wow. All right, Miss Abby, you are easy in the one hand, but I'm just really blessed that you're here. It's just really cool. I've been wondering when the Lord was going to bring us to this, and I'm so glad it's this year. So our next speaker is a woman of extraordinary courage. That, to me, when I tried to think about how I wanted to introduce this lady, extraordinary courage is the one I came up with, because she is an example of what a godly woman looks like. She said yes to him in a very difficult season. She was working at Planned Parenthood as an executive director and had been named Employee of the Year, when suddenly her life did a 180 and things changed. And when she came out of the abortion industry, she redirected all the energy and passion she had for helping women when she thought she was helping them at the Planned Parenthood clinic, and now is working to help them in a new way. And I don't want to tell her story, so I'm going to let her talk about it. But what you need to know is that she has helped over 600 clinic workers come out of abortion clinics. That's powerful. But here's the really incredible thing. She has 8 children. Yeah, she is a mom of a lot. She also recently got her doctorate, and so she is a full-blown Dr. Abby Johnson. And it is without further ado that I want to introduce her and remind our virtual audience that we will be doing a Q&A with her. So as you all think of questions, please go ahead and jot them down. Miss Abby, come on up.
Right.
Thank you so much, sweetie.
You.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, I just have this here for time. Oh, there's a big clock right there. That's even better. Okay. All right. Well, I am from Texas, so howdy. All right. It's so good to be here with all of you today, and welcome to everybody trickling in. So I do live outside of Austin with my husband Doug and our 8 children, and just our oldest daughter is actually here. She was here with her whole high school at the March for Life this year. She's 17, and then we had 4 boys in a row. They are 11, 10, 9, and 8. And I know, I was there. And then we said to the Lord, we'll have one more. And he gave us twin girls. And they're 6. And then we had one more little boy, Fulton, and he is 4. And we're done. We're done. So anyway, it's really such a blessing. I kind of look at my life and look at just the choices I've made through life. I've had 2 abortions, and I've helped to facilitate over 22,000 abortions during my time at Planned Parenthood. And yet I look at my family. I have an amazing husband. We've been married for almost 19 years, and these 8 beautiful children. And I look at them and I think, wow, God is so good. He is just infinitely merciful. He is infinitely good. And I'm so undeserving of the blessings I have. I'm so undeserving of this amazing family that I have, yet he's given it to me anyway. And that's just how amazing and how merciful he is. I'm gonna kind of guess that some of you have a lot of you have probably heard my story. You kind of know I worked at Planned Parenthood for 8 years, and I'm going to guess that some of you have seen Unplanned, maybe. So I'm just kind of working from that position. But I did work at Planned Parenthood for 8 years, got started in college, did not know anything about Planned Parenthood, grew up in a conservative home, but we did not talk about abortion. It was a different time then. It was a time when people were not proud of their sin. So people did not stand up at a podium and shout their abortion. People were not walking around in t-shirts that said, "I've had an abortion." I saw a woman on social media the other day. She was wearing a t-shirt that said, "I've had 15 abortions." That was not a thing back then. People kept their sin to themselves. And so I think my parents, I grew up in church. I think my parents just believed, we've taught Abby the biblical pathway to marriage, and that's abstinence. And so as long as she follows that path, then abortion's never going to be on the table. And so we don't really need to talk about something so disturbing with our little girl. And so we really didn't talk about it. And so I went to college very ignorant of anything revolving around politics, anything revolving around, social issues, social injustice. I was very sheltered. I grew up in South Louisiana. No abortion clinics anywhere around us, which was a blessing, but also very sheltering. My parents were not anti-abortion activists in any way, shape, or form. So when I was first introduced to Planned Parenthood, I was introduced to them really based on their forward-facing talking points, which at that time, now this was back in 2001, so that's over 20 years ago. But at that time, the forward-facing message of Planned Parenthood was that their goal was to reduce the number of abortions, okay? Now, was that actually the goal of Planned Parenthood? No. But that was their forward-facing message, right? And they were going to do that through widespread access to contraception. Okay, so, this woman tells me we are going to reduce abortion. We give contraception to the masses. We give it to young people. We give it to college-age girls. We want to make abortion safe, legal, and rare, right? That, as someone who didn't know any different, that was a convincing argument to me. I mean, she said, well, here's the deal. Abortion is kind of just a necessary evil. And, women, they've been having abortions since the beginning of time. And if they're going to do it, then we want them to do it in a safe place. And that's who we are. We are that safe place. That's who Planned Parenthood is. And I thought, well, okay. I mean, I don't want women to be unsafe. I don't want women to die, right? I haven't heard any other argument against this. So this makes sense. She's talking about being a feminist and, being this enlightened woman, right? This free-thinking woman. And I thought, yeah, I want to be that. Sure, I'm a free woman now, right? I'm out from my parents' home, and I know everything. And my parents know nothing. And so even though I've heard them say that, we shouldn't support abortion. I mean, I remember hearing them say that. Clearly, they don't know what they're talking about. And so, yes, okay, I'll support this. I'll do this. And I'll go to the clinic and I'll check it out, right? And that small step led me into 8 years of evil and living in evil, perpetuating evil, living a lie, speaking lies. But it didn't happen overnight. It's not like I was this, good Christian kid and doing everything right, and then one day I start working in an abortion clinic. These transformations in our lives, they happen a little bit at a time. It's one little lie at a time, one little justification at a time, one little compromise at a time. And then one day, you kind of wake up and you don't even realize who you are anymore. You don't recognize yourself anymore. Who have I become? But I want to talk a little bit about kind of this compromise, and I want to talk about how people in this country, and a lot of you know this better than I do, but kind of from the interior of Planned Parenthood, how I saw our society in that 8 years working at Planned Parenthood, how I saw things change from the interior of Planned Parenthood, and how I saw our society buy this lie. So like I said, when I went to work at Planned Parenthood, it was all about prevention, preventing the need for abortion, reducing the need for abortion. And that was really what I believed for the first few years that I worked there. I didn't get involved in Planned Parenthood believing I was going to kill babies or anything like that. I thought I was helping women. I genuinely did believe that. And things went on that way for quite some time. We did have a major shift in 2007. 2007 was it was a pivotal year for both sides actually, but really especially the pro-choice movement. So this safe, legal, and rare argument had become so convincing to the public that you saw a lot of people buying into this. You saw moderates buying into it. You saw Christians buying into it. Many politicians bought into it. Even people that would have, said they were conservative. This necessary evil sort of argument. You saw a lot of people compromising on abortion and buying into this safe, legal, and rare sort of argument. And a lot of church people bought into it, safe, legal, rare. So you heard it all the time. And it was so convincing to a lot of people. But when you think about it on its face, it doesn't even really make sense when you really kind of dive deeper into it. Because if something is good, why do you want it to be rare? Right? Like, my favorite food in the whole world is eggplant parmesan. I do not want eggplant parmesan to be rare, okay? Because I love it. I want it to be plentiful. Every time I go into an Italian restaurant, it better be on the menu. okay? I don't want it to be rare. I want it to be everywhere. So if abortion is good, if it is a good, then why do you want it to be rare, right? You want it to be available. So on its face, that argument doesn't even make sense. But somehow, to our collective society, it started making sense to people, and they were buying it. But something started happening inside the abortion industry. Women were asking us direct questions. They were asking us direct questions about their pregnancy, about their baby. They were asking us direct questions about their ultrasound, because we were performing ultrasounds before every single abortion. Now, we weren't showing them those ultrasounds. We weren't giving them any information about the ultrasound. In fact, we weren't even giving them the option to view their ultrasound. But we were performing the ultrasound. They were asking us questions. They were asking us, is it one baby or two babies? We weren't giving them those answers. We were saying, well, would it matter? Don't you think it would be harder to have two babies than one? So why would you want to know? We weren't giving them direct answers back to their direct questions. They were asking us specific questions about their baby. Does my baby have arms and legs? Is there a heartbeat? And we were skirting around the issue, right? We knew there were arms and legs. We were piecing these babies back together in the POC lab. We knew there were body parts, right? But we were lying. We were saying, no, there's no heartbeat. It's like just fetal tones. There's sound, but it's not a heartbeat. It's just tissue. It's not even a human being yet. It's just cells. So we weren't giving them truthful answers. We weren't giving them real answers, right? But here's the problem. 60%, it's still the same number today. 60% of women, even back then, who were having abortions, had already delivered children. So these were not women who were ignorant to prenatal development, right? They knew they'd already had children. They knew there was a heartbeat. They knew there were arms and legs. They knew this. They had seen it. So we were giving them these ridiculous responses, but they were kind of like, okay, but I've had a baby. So I kind of know what the ultrasound looks like. I kind of know that's not true. But they weren't really questioning it because, after all, we're wearing scrubs. And we have the stethoscope around our neck. So we're the authority, right? Don't question us. We know what's best for you. And so they really wouldn't. They would just go with it. We had the product that they wanted. And the product really wasn't abortion. The product was freedom. They thought they were going to get freedom. Freedom from this crisis. Freedom to pursue the education they wanted. Freedom to land that job. Freedom from the ex-boyfriend. Freedom from the shame that they might experience in their church. Freedom, that was the product we were selling. It wasn't the abortion at all. So that became a problem. So in 2006, Planned Parenthood, with our tax dollars, hired this fantastic marketing research firm. And they have the money to do that, right? So they hired this marketing research company and brought in all of these consultants. They focus test everything, okay? They focus group test everything. Y'all know what that is, right? They take these little groups of people, women that fit their target demographic. Now, Planned Parenthood's target demographic are women between the ages of 18 to 24, because that's the largest swath of women coming in to obtain abortions, okay? So they got thousands of women between the ages of 18 and 24, brought them in, and they showed them different fonts, like font, F-O-N-T, a font, right? They showed them different fonts. What do you like best? Different colors. What do you like best? Tested different websites. What do you like best on this website? Different placement of pictures. What kind of pictures do you like? Where do you like the pictures on the website? All different kinds of things, okay? And they were trying, even words. What word do you like to describe a surgical abortion? Instead of using surgical abortion, what word would you prefer? Instead of using medication abortion, chemical abortion, medical abortion, what words would you prefer to describe that? They focus tested every single thing you could imagine with thousands and thousands of women. So in 2007, we had a big directors meeting. They brought us in and they said, look, you all know there's a problem, right? The answers that you're giving to these women, they're not buying it anymore. So we have to do better. 2007, Planned Parenthood got rid of all of the hot pink. Okay, remember Planned Parenthood used to be like saturated in hot pink, right? That was their color. All right, that went away. And that's still true today. The only time you will see anything hot pink come from Planned Parenthood is from Planned Parenthood Action, their C4, and their PAC, okay? Now, everything turned to blue. Everything was blue. So kind of like a royalish, a little lighter than royal blue. So everything turned to blue, all right? All of the kind of scripty feminine fonts disappeared. Now everything was bold block lettering, bold block text, okay? They came up with a logo the logo was already there. They came up with a motto, like a tagline, okay? So the nested peas looked a little different. They changed those, the PP, they changed out a little bit, changed the logo a little bit. Looks similar, but a little different. Then they also came up with a tagline. Tagline is what they still use today. Anybody know what it is? Somebody said it. Care no matter what. Care no matter what. Their action is act no matter what. PP action is act no matter what. Okay, so that became their taglines. All of our language changed. So it's no longer called surgical abortion. It was called an in-clinic procedure, ICP, in-clinic procedure. They said that vacuum aspiration sounded too ominous. Surgical abortion sounded too scary. They didn't want people to think it was a surgery. Medication abortion, medical abortion, chemical abortion, that all changed to pill abortion. Now they've started calling it a missed period pill. They can bring your period back if you take this missed period pill. They fail to tell you that you bring your period back because you've taken the life of your child. All the language changed. But the most, before I say that, another thing changed. It was interesting because all of the femininity of our brand went away, right? The pink went away. The squiggly font, anything feminine. The pictures of women on our website, of just women, went away. Now there were men on the website now. a lot of homosexual male couples on the website now. Things were changing. Things were made to look more androgynous. Why was that? Well, in 2007 was the year that Planned Parenthood created the first protocol for male to female and female to male cross-sex hormone treatment. People think that this is new for Planned Parenthood. They think that they're just now dabbling into transgender hormone treatments, but that's not true. They introduced their first protocol in 2007, the same year all of their marketing switched. The same year all of our marketing became androgynous. Guys, that's not a coincidence. And they actually piloted that in the first clinics in 2008. My clinic was one of the first ones that was in that pilot list. The most important switch, the most important change, was how we were instructed to answer those difficult, direct questions. We were instructed to answer them with one answer. Any question, any direct question about abortion, okay, Siri wants to tell me something. Any direct question about abortion, about their pregnancy, anything, we were to meet them with this answer. And the answer was, women choose abortion because they care about themselves, their current family, and their future family. Now, when I heard that for the first time, I remember thinking, that's ridiculous. That's not going to work. These women are asking very direct questions, and they're going to want a very direct answer from us, and we are completely evading the question. We are not giving them an answer. This is absolutely not going to work. But I walked away from the meeting thinking, well, I mean, we'll give it a go, right? They're the experts. So a couple days later, we were committing surgical abortions, and there was a woman sitting in front of me, and she was tearful. She was worried. She was worried. She was a religious woman, Christian woman. She was worried whether she could find forgiveness, whether God would forgive her if she had an abortion. She was worried about guilt, worried about possible regret. I'm telling you right now, if I saw that woman walking down the street, I would recognize her. I still remember her face. I remember what I was wearing that day. I was wearing a maroon scrub top and black scrub pants. It is so vivid. This memory is so vivid in my memory. And I thought, okay, well, we're going to see how this goes. It's my first time to use this. We'll see if it works. And I looked at her and I said, you know, women choose abortion because they care about themselves, their current family, and their future family. And she looked at me and she kind of cocked her head to the side, and she took this deep breath, and she sighed, and she said, yes. She said, that's it. She said, you get it. She said, I'm having an abortion because I care about this baby. remember thinking, wow, we've done it. We had successfully turned abortion into an act of compassion. That message, of course, went out to the media, and the media ate it up, right? Abortion is compassionate. It is compassionate health care. That same year was the year that we were contacted by Amphioxus Cell Technologies. I worked for the affiliate outside of Houston, Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast. It was and is the third largest Planned Parenthood affiliate in the country. We had a very, very large research department. And we researched all kinds of different things. But we got a phone call from Amphioxus, our research team got a phone call from Amphioxus Cell Tech Company, and they specifically performed research on aborted tissue from abortion. And they had reached out and they wanted to know if we would sell tissue to them. And so our research department said yes. They got all of it worked out. They came to us, to our surgical abortion staff, and said, this is what we're going to start doing. We're going to start processing all of the POC. You're going to start putting it into the styrofoam container, and at the end of the day, you'll bag it up, put it in a styrofoam container, and it will ship overnight to Amphioxus Cell Tech. And we were receiving $200 per baby that we shipped to them. That was on top of the money we were already receiving from the patient that she was paying for the abortion. Now, conservatively, this is a very conservative number. Conservatively, our affiliate, just through Amphioxus, was receiving about at least $2.4 million for those aborted babies. And that does not include the price of the abortion. That's just from Amphioxus. So that all happened in 2007 as well. That was at the end of 2007. And so, but in order to do that, we did have to have a consent form signed from the woman, from the mother. And so it was a little weird. We didn't know how to ask a woman, right, to donate her tissue, her baby. She was donating it. We were profiting off of it. So we were given instruction on how to do that through our research team. We were told to tell the woman that this was a wonderful thing for her to do because it could be her specimen that provides the cure for Alzheimer's. It could be her donation that provides the cure for Parkinson's. In fact, her abortion could change the world. Amphioxus Cell Tech did not do any sort of research on degenerative neurological diseases. They did not do any research on Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or anything like that. But the truth didn't matter. It was just about getting those specimens. We never had a woman decline. Because not only had we turned abortion into an act of compassion, we had also turned abortion into an act of altruism. And this is still where we are today. This is the society that we're in today. Now it's just snowballed into something even greater. I'm sure a lot of you saw a few years ago when the president of Iceland came out very vocally. He was very proud. He said that Iceland had successfully eradicated Down syndrome. Now, Down syndrome is a genetic mutation, so I thought, how do they do that? Right? But that's what the headline said. So you look into the article, though, you realize they have done no such thing. All they have done is basically convinced mothers who have been given the diagnosis in the womb to abort their children that have been diagnosed with Down syndrome. Babies are still being diagnosed with Down syndrome. It's just that these doctors were pressuring them and convincing them to abort their children with Down syndrome. And he was so proud. He was so proud of himself. Because he had convinced himself that aborting children with Down syndrome was an act of compassion. It was a societal good to kill those who are unfit. That sounds familiar. Kill the weak among us. Only allow the fit to survive among us. This is where we are today. And it's a long road ahead of us. The pro-life battle is not getting easier. The overturning of Roe has not made things easier for us, has it? I think we all would like to say that, Roe was overturned and now the fight's over, right? But that's not true. I just got a call from a hospital in Washington, D.C. Do any of you live in the D.C. area? Oh, like everybody. Okay. So I just got a call. There's a hospital here. It's called. So I got a call from a woman who worked in charge of the stillbirth and miscarriage program there. She called me. I have no idea how she got my number. She said someone named Terry referred me. I don't know Terry. I don't know who that is, but somebody named Terry gave her my information and said to call me. This woman had no idea who I was, and which was probably better. She called me and told me in this conversation, she said, I'm trying to get some guidance and actually write a protocol to help our nurses for women who have had abortions and are presenting to our hospital after they have delivered their baby. And I said, okay, I'm going to need some clarification on what you mean. And she said, sure. She said, what's happening is women are coming here to DC because abortion is legal in all stages. And she said, so women are flying here, they're coming here for later procedures. And I said, okay. I said, well, tell me like gestationally, what are we talking about here? And she said, I don't know, like 20 weeks to like 30 something weeks. And I said, okay. And I said, so what's happening? She said, well, they're going into these abortion clinics. And they are having the laminaria inserted. Now, laminaria, those are the seaweed sticks. That's the first part of a late-term abortion. So you're going to put those into the cervix so that the cervix will dilate to allow the delivery. And she said they're putting in the laminaria, the first step. She said, and then they're sending them home, or they're sending them to a hotel, because these women have flown in, sending them to a hotel, and then the women are delivering in the hotel. She said, so then they're presenting to the emergency room, they're presenting to MedStar, to our hospital, and they are now postpartum, they've delivered, and they're presenting with the fetus. And I said, so is the fetus alive, or? And she said, no. She said, the fetus has suffocated. She said, a lot of times it was alive, but it's suffocated now to death. Very matter of fact. I mean, she's very matter of fact about it. Just, these are the facts. And I said, okay. I said, so what is it you're looking for from me? And she said, well, we just need some guidance because the nurses really don't know what to say when these women are presenting. And they don't know if they should call it a fetus or should they call it a baby. And they don't know, whether they should ask the women if they want to hold the fetus, or is that going to be, damaging to the women? And we just need some expertise here. And I was told that you may be an expert on this. And so I said, well, I think I might be able to help somewhat. And, but I was about to get on the airplane to come here to DC, and I said, I'll need it I said, I have some other therapists so I can get with them and kind of come up with something to send you. And she said, where do you live? And I said, I live in Texas. And she said, oh no. She said, those poor women in your state. She said, gosh, there's just a lot of women that are suffering down there in Texas, don't have access to abortion. I said, well, our definition of suffering might be a little different. Delivering a 30-week-old baby in a hotel room alone, that's suffering to me. Watching your baby suffocate to death on its own lungs, that baby suffered. That mother suffered while she was watching it. Women not being told that that was a possibility. That's criminal. Women not being properly informed, not having informed consent, proper informed consent. That's wrong. It should be criminal. And that's causing suffering. Reminds me of that Kate Cox story that came out of Texas. I'm sure a lot of you saw that. A woman that used her baby that had been diagnosed with trisomy 18 as a political pawn All the news stories I saw were painting her as a martyr for the cause of abortion, taking it to the courts so that she would be able to take the life of her child that had been diagnosed with trisomy 18. I watched the Zoom when an activist judge in Texas granted her the ability to have an abortion, and they celebrated, she and her husband, they cheered, they celebrated that she could kill her child. That was quickly struck down, of course, by the Texas Supreme Court, and she had to go out of state to have the abortion, which she could have done in the first place, but she wanted to make a political statement using her innocent child. But every news story talked about how much Kate Cox was suffering. She was suffering because she could not have an abortion. But not one news article, not even pro-life news articles, talked about how much this sweet, innocent, 22-week-old baby in the womb was going to suffer by the hand of an abortionist. Not one. I had a lot of news people reach out to me asking about that. And I ask every single one of them, do you know how an abortion is performed on a 22-week-old baby? You know, not one of them knew. It's like they assume that a woman is going to walk into an abortion clinic, the abortion is going to sprinkle fairy dust on her abdomen, and the baby's going to magically float out of her belly. It is a devastating and barbaric practice. Not one of them knew. So I would describe it to them. They were disgusted. They couldn't admit it, right? And I said, but that is suffering. What that baby is going to endure, that is suffering. I'm not saying that what this woman has experienced, I'm not saying it's not difficult. I'm not saying it's not a challenge. But God gives us the strength to overcome the challenges that are put in front of us. And He's given us a community. He's given us the church. He's given us this movement. He's given us a network of pregnancy centers. He's given us maternity homes. He's given us the body of Christ. He's given us each other to accompany one another on these difficult journeys so that we can overcome these challenges. Listen, either women are strong enough to overcome the adversities that are put in front of us, or we're not. Either women are strong enough to handle anything that's put in front of us, we can overcome any barrier that's put in front of us, as the pro-abortion movement says we are, or we're not. And over again, they prove that they really don't believe that. Over and over again, they prove that what they really believe is that women are weak. We are the movement that says women are strong. Women can overcome challenges, and we can do it because we do it together. We do it in community with one another. And we do it with the strength of our Creator, because He has created us to do hard things. And He's created us to do them with His help. Thank you all so much.
Abby, that was awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, we are a little over time, so we are going to pass on Q&A with you, darling. Let me just ask you one quick question, which I think is going to be a fun question. You have a new movie coming out pretty soon. Can you tell us a little bit about the new movie
Yep.
and how we can learn more about it.
Yeah, so I have a new documentary coming out called Unthinkable. It will be out in the summer because that's what we want to do. We want to make abortion unthinkable, not just illegal, but truly unthinkable in the hearts and minds of women and our culture. So the website is unthinkable doc, D-O-C, like documentary, unthinkabledoc.com. You can see the trailer there. And basically, when I left Planned Parenthood, people in the abortion movement would say, well, that's what happened at your clinic, that you're just a one-off, that doesn't happen anywhere else. And so basically I wanted to get dozens of former abortion clinic workers together and see if that's true. Are these abuses that I experienced, is it a one-off or is it systemic? And what you will see in this documentary is that these abuses are pervasive and they are worse than what you could even imagine. I think even the pro-life movement is going to be shocked at what they hear. We have a woman who, while I was interviewing her, she told me a story I did not know. She told me that they had started the labor on her for a baby that was almost full term. This was in Orlando, Florida, and she started screaming on the toilet in their clinic bathroom. And so Lorinda and her supervisor went running into the bathroom, and the woman had delivered her baby on the toilet, head first. And they heard the baby splashing around in the toilet. And Lorinda went to go, of course, her instinct went to go grab the baby. And her supervisor physically held her back and would not let her go and save the baby. And she said she held her there until they heard the paddling stop. And they knew the baby had died. And so, as she's telling me the story, I'm sitting there listening to it thinking, oh my gosh, she just admitted to being an accomplice to murder. And I thought, I don't know that we can put this out in the documentary without there being penalties for her, So we immediately called our attorneys at Thomas More Society, which they're amazing and they represent us beautifully. And so we called them and showed them the clip, and they said, well, you're right. We need to run this by some people. I happen to know the governor of Florida. And so we called them, we called their office, called him. I've done a lot of work with the Attorney General's office in Florida, so we called them, got on the phone with those offices, and they said, look, we would never prosecute her because we see her as a whistleblower. And so nothing's going to come from our office, but we can't guarantee that there's no statute of limitations on murder. And we can't guarantee that an unfriendly federal government couldn't come after her at some point in time. But it would be a terrible look for them to go after a woman who's admitting that a child that was supposed to be aborted was drowned and murdered in an abortion clinic. So they were like, we don't think that would ever happen, because then they would have to be admitting that a baby was born, a baby was alive, and a baby was drowned, that a baby drowned, right? So we don't think that would ever happen. But we had to present it to her and say, look, you go to prison for this if we put this out here. And we had to give her the choice, and it was totally her choice. And she ended up calling me after the phone call with all the attorneys and everything, and she said, Abby, she said, if I have to go to prison in order for this child to receive justice, then I'll go to prison. And that was just, and that is the story of so many of these women that are coming forward to share their stories. They're willing to pay the earthly consequence for their earthly action because they know that their eternal reward is going to be so much greater. And so that's really what the film is about. It's just about exposing these egregious things that are happening in the industry. And, you know, I have to say, I worked with March on a really terrible thing that happened inside of a late-term facility. You were probably one of the first calls I made when that happened, besides to my attorney. But I got a phone call from a woman who worked at Carhartt's clinic, and she had called me frantic, screaming on our hotline for And Then There Were None. And I actually missed my flight because I couldn't get off the phone with her. She was frantic and crying, hyperventilating on the phone. It was a late-term procedure. It was a twin pregnancy, but they didn't realize it was twins until she was delivering. And they had only injected digoxin in one of the babies. And one of them was born alive. And she was a nurse. She was the only one trained in neonatal resuscitation. And so she was like, I need to be in there to resuscitate this baby until the ambulance comes. And they physically barricaded her from going into that room. And she said, Abby, I heard that baby making noise, and then I heard silence. And she said, I know they killed him. I know they strangled him. I know they drowned him. I know they did something to that baby. They killed him. He was alive, and they killed him. This is happening in abortion facilities all around our country. This has to be exposed. And our ministry, our former workers are doing everything they can to get this out to the public, because not only does this have to be exposed, but our country has to heal. We have to heal from this evil of abortion. Women have to heal from, they've been lied to. Our country's been lied to. Men have been lied to. We've all been lied to. We're all wounded from this stain of abortion. But we don't know what to heal from if we don't actually know what's happening. So we have to tell the truth about what's actually going on. So thank you so much.